Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. In today's video, we're going to be making this very sweet cupcake style box. The box base element is 3 inches high. It is 1.5 inches at the narrowest point at the base, and at the widest point it's 4 inches. So let's put the project together. I'm going to start with the cake case, as it were, so the bottom part of the box, and I'm going to give you 2 measurements. One which you can use if you have a hexagon die, and one which you can use if you don't have a hexagon die. So what will happen is, if I bring in the half that I've made, if you don't have a hexagon die, your base will have a 1-inch piece like so. So these bits will all fold over to form the bottom of the piece. If you have a hexagon die, we will cut that down to 1/2 inch. If you have a hexagon die, your piece will be 6.5 by 3.5. And if you don't have the hexagon die, your piece will be 6.5 by 4. The measurements are going to be the same on both pieces. On your short side, we're going to score at 1/2 inch and 3 inches. Rotate so that your 1/2 inch section is at the bottom. Score from top to bottom at 2, 4 and 6. We're then going to score down to the 1 inch score line only at 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches, 2.5 inches, 3.5 inches, 4.5 inches and 5.5 inches. So these are going to create our base tabs. So your piece will currently look something like this. You'll then take your stylus and ruler. So we'll start off by adding in our extra score lines for our funnel. So each of these 3 sections is one side of our base. So we're going to work on the right hand side of each section. I'm going to go to the end of the second score line and score diagonally down to the bottom of that section, like so. And see our diagonal. I'm going to do that all the way along. So I've got 3 additional diagonals on the right hand side of each section. On the left hand side of the section, we're going to cut that away. So you might want to mark that with a pencil, use your stylus and draw a line, or go straight in with your scissors. I'll mark it with a pencil. So this will go, and then go in and burnish the full verticals and the full horizontals. And we're now going to do our cutting. I'll bring in this template. My piece is in the same orientation. So the blue lines are score lines, including the extra diagonals. And we're now going to cut along the red lines and remove sections. So I'll keep that on the screen. I'm going to start along the bottom section. So we can cut up the second score line to the 1 inch horizontal and rotate and completely remove that piece. I can then move along to the next score line. So we've now got our base tab, and I'm just going to, it doesn't matter what order you cut the pieces in, you just want to end up with your cut pieces like this. So these pieces are all now free. Rotate, I'm going to fold that one back, and let's get rid of this excess that we don't need on the bottom. Like so, and I'm going to cut straight up this diagonal here to remove that section. So this is what we look like so far. We're now going to cut up the longer verticals up to the horizontal, like so. And then I'm going to cut up my pencil line in each of the pieces. So that's how we look. And then I'm going to work on this end, cut up to release this section and just cut a wedge. This is going to be where we join the 2 pieces together at the top. And then I'm going to rotate my piece and just create myself a glue tab, roughly 1/2 inch and just trim off that edge and take a wedge off that edge. So this is our piece now that it's been cut. So you'll do that twice, and then you can go in and carefully score along each of the diagonals within the funnel piece. And now I'm going to work my way along by adding glue onto the glue tab within the funnel section and folding over the next piece. So we're going to start to create half of our base. Do the same on this one. And then I can take my second section and join the two sections together. And then what I can do is, if I fold the base flaps out, I can fold the two opposite each other and glue those into place, and then the next two opposite each other and glue those into place, and then the next two opposite each other and glue those into place, and that will complete our base. If you do have a hexagon die which can sit on your 1/2 inch tabs at the bottom, this was my die, which was the 1 inch length for each side. And if you want to create a mat layer for the base, I started with a piece which was 3 inches by 2 inches. I've scored at 1/2 inch along the 3 inch side to give me my top portion. Along the bottom edge, I've marked at 1/2 inch and 1.5 inches, and I've then cut away diagonally to create these two lines, and I then put it in my trimmer, and on all sides I cut 1/8 inch away. So this is giving me 1/8 inch border on all 4 sides. For the top part of the cupcake, we're going to be making a smaller version of the base, and again, if you have a hexagon die, your piece will be 6 7/8 by 2.5, and if you have no die, your piece will be 6 7/8 by 3. Along the short side, score at 5/8 inch, rotate 180 degrees and score at 1/2 inch. Along the long side, with the 1/2 inch tab at the top, score at 1/2 inch, 2 5/8 inch, and 4 3/4 inch. You then want to move the cardstock along a 1/16 inch. So this is my 1/2 inch score line here. I'm going to move the piece along so that the 1/2 inch score line is now level with the downward notch on my scoreboard, which is just to the right of the 1/2 inch mark here. We're then going to score down to the 1/2 inch line only at 1 1/8, 2 1/8, 3 1/4, 4 3/4, 5 3/8, and 6 3/8. We'll then add our additional scoring in. I've got my 1/2 inch tab over on this right hand side, and I'm going to score again in the right of each of the 3 panels. So from the end of this score line diagonally down, from the end diagonally down, and from the end diagonally down. And our cut lines will be in the left hand side of the section. We can then again fold and burnish along each of the score lines. So the process for this is exactly the same as the piece that we've already made. So I'll just bring in this piece. I've got my 1/2 inch tab on the left here as it is on here, so the cutting is exactly the same as that we've already done. I'm going to start by cutting up each of the score lines within the 1/2 inch section to create the top element of the lid. You can cut away this right hand score line, cut this section away, cut these sections away, cut up each of the longer verticals and then remove these pieces. And that's so far, and then I can work on the end. So I'm going to create our joining tab, rotate and create a 1/2 inch. And now once again we can go in, burnish along the diagonals. So let's glue this one together. So that's our piece joined together. I'm going to stick my hexagon on the top. I've now added the hexagon onto the top of the lid, and I decided to go for one which was slightly oversized. I just like the look of that. I've added a simple sentiment onto the front, and you can see that the lid comes on and off very easily. And overall, I just think it's a very sweet little box, and it wouldn't be too difficult to resize if you wanted something larger. So there we have today's project. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.